How'd it go with the healing stuff?
He did pretty well. It made walk so much easier that we went on some pretty long ones.
I'm sorry?
It made walk so much easier that we went on some pretty long ones.
Good. So what we'll start off with is a quick review. So you can show me how it's looking so far. And then from there, what's the number at now?
Yeah, 23.
Okay. I think you're starting to get it. There it is. What's that number now?
40.
Okay. What's his usual number?
When I'm outside, it's like usually 20, 25.
Okay. So go ahead and do a quick, just to recap and show me what it looks like now. Give him a little bit more slack. About like a little bit more. Right there. Good.
The spinning to sit around towards me is normal.
Okay. We're gonna do something today. That should help fix that, okay? Good. A little bit more. Good. Good. Go ahead and pivot around. And slow to stop. Very good. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start adding in that word of heal.
Okay.
So you're going to have an official on switch. Okay, so technically now that you start incorporating the word, if you go out and you've not said anything, technically he's not under any command. Okay, so this past week we didn't say anything, you just started tapping, so it's kind of assumed. Now that you have that word, if you come out and you don't say anything, he can technically pull you, sniff, pee, and all that stuff until you cue the word of heal. Okay, so think of heal as clocking him into work. Think of break as clocking him out of work. Okay, so when he's on the clock, when he's in heal, no sniffing, no peeing, no pooping, no greeting anybody. He's at your side, he's working. Okay, once you cue break, you can do all that stuff. So what we're gonna do, super simple, is you're gonna cue the word heal first, and then since he's on your right side, you're gonna move forward with your right leg first. Okay, so with the dogs that we train traditionally on the left, you would say heal, but you would move with your left leg first. Okay. So when you're working with the two different positionings, everything stays the same, but it's reversed. Okay, so after we cover this part, we're gonna do some turns, and the turns are for the right side. So when you go to the left side, you just flip everything. Okay, so we're gonna do that a few times. You're just gonna cue the word heal. You're gonna walk for a little bit, come to a stop. He should automatically sit. Wait a moment, heal, forward with your right leg, move for a bit, come to a stop, sit, repeat. Okay?
Heal.
Good.
And I would say heal every time I'm regaining.
From stationary to motion, correct.
Heal. Heal. Heal.
Good, two more.
Heal.
Good, last one. Perfect. All right. So now for what is generally the hard stuff, but for you will probably be easy. Okay. So here, oh, that looked good. Very simple. Heel, right leg. The reason why you would move with your right leg first is because for Kilo, since you're to his left, in more advanced training, right leg needs to walk with me, left leg needs don't move. Okay. So that's why when you were doing the stay with the puppy the other day, they were at your left side and you were stepping out with your right leg because we're already teaching the difference between the two. Okay, and it just takes consistency and repetition. Okay, because people are always amazed, like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, if you keep always moving with your left leg, the dog will recognize that versus the right leg. Okay, so questions about this stuff. So you only cue the word from stationary to motion. If you're already in heel and Kilo were to get ahead, you would not repeat the heel. You would simply tap and turn. Okay, the reason why we don't repeat commands is it resets the dog. When we get into, we did place, correct?
Yeah.
So if we send to place and Kilo starts to sneak off, if you say place again, it's the same command, but a new command, okay? So he doesn't learn not to get off. You've just told him to go there again. So then 10 minutes later, he tries to get off and then you place him and he goes again, right? And you create this pattern. We go straight to the e-collar. Right, he starts to sneak off, no warning, no stay, no place, nothing like that, which is remote. He goes back on, he self-corrects, so he learns, oh, if I go here by the word of place, if I try to sneak off prematurely, pressure kicks in, there is no warning. So in order to avoid that correction, I just don't leave place. So for the heel, same kind of concept.
Reissuing the command would be like a warning.
Correct. You're resetting or like warning, we don't warn. That's actually why one of the biggest problems with training is people have to keep repeating because they're treating them like warnings. I'm going to tell you sit 3 times and on the 3rd time I'm going to remote you, and that creates delayed response. And we always want to again relate everything to the recall because recall is the one command you do not want to delay on, especially if he's running towards something dangerous like the street. You want a complete 180. So if you've taught Kilo, I will repeat a command multiple times before I actually reinforce it. And the day comes where he's running towards something, you're like, I hope to God he comes on the first one, right? Because you've given him, you've taught him on the 3rd one or the 4th one or whatever. That's when you have to worry, and I want the dog to worry right off the bat. Okay, so here we got the heel, we got good positioning. We have there's 4 types of turns, and there's 2 major ones. Okay, we have the crossover turn, which in this case would be going to our right because you'll be crossing over Kilo. And then you have your pivot turn, okay? The pivot turn is what you were doing technically last week, right? When he would pass you, you would just pivot 180, tap, and go the opposite way. Same turn, except this one's gonna be, you're gonna communicate this one, okay? So you only do these movements when Kilo is in heel and when he's paying attention, okay? Because if he's not paying attention, it's not gonna go well. So for the crossover, this is the hardest one for people, is before we turn, what do we wanna do? Correct. So you're going to slow down at least 3 steps, more is fine. And you want to time it so that your left leg is going to cross over Kilo at a 90-degree cut like this, okay? Then you're going to step in with your right leg, and you're going to cross again with your left leg. Now we're going this way, okay? So again, lead with that left, step in with the right, cross again with the left. Now I'm back going this way. So it's kind of like a square U-turn, okay? So the reason why we cross with the left here is since Kilo is on our right, if you cross with your right, you'll either end up tripping over him or you're gonna end up kicking him out the way, okay? So when you slow down, if he's paying attention, you're gonna see him kind of slow down as well. So when you cross with that left leg, it allows him to see it. And you'll see him either stop or dogs will naturally pivot off to clear because they don't wanna collide with you, and he'll make space for you, okay? There is no tapping here, it's all through body language. Earlier with the crossing over problem, right? What we can do is if you start to come to a stop and you see Kilo coming in with no warning, no words or anything like that, you would just come in, left leg, right and left, and you would just plow right through him, okay? So for him, he starts to come to that stop, oh crap, and he's gonna see him just bump back because now you're using your body to claim that space. Okay, so what he ends up doing is he'll stop, kind of crossing over like this and favoring more back and right, and then we create a problem. Do you know what that problem is?
Well, there's less time for him to react, so he's got to kind of stay back there.
Yeah. He's gonna start to lag. Cooper. He's gonna start to lag. Hey, Enrique, bring me a water, please. He's gonna start to lag. And now you're moving into his space, okay? It's normal. So if we start to see him lag too much, we just tap to bring him forward. So you have to find a balance, right? It's there's such a thing as too close, and there's such a thing as too far. And then you'll start to see him kind of favor a nice little pocket here, okay? For the pivot turn, same process. You want to slow down before you turn. And you're going to extend your right leg back on your left leg, forward to your right leg. I think someone called it a rock step once or something like that. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. So, yeah, slow down, right, left. Now I'm thinking of dancing. So, pretty simple. And what you're going to see with Kilo is when we do that right, we do kind of delay a moment. And it gives them time to see it, and you'll see them just naturally curve around. So by the time you're coming this way, we're actually moving together. Thank you.
I'm just trying to go like pivot straight back. I'm not trying to curve around.
So yeah, because with the crossover, you're crossing over with the left. With the pivot, you're going to the left, leading with the right. Okay, so you lead the turn with the leg opposite to the turn. Right turns led with the left leg. Left turns led with the right leg. Okay. So we'll start first with the crossovers because that tends to be the most difficult, and we'll go from there. Questions?
I think we're good.
Left, right, left. Yep, just keep forward. Good. Left, right, left. Yep, just power through. That's good. We'll try a couple more. Up. Hey. Right, left. One more. Right, left. Okay, now slow to stop. Good. Okay. Now on that last one there, your right hand went back a little.
Yeah.
Why was that?
I also tapped because I just felt him getting ahead of me.
Right. And then what do you want to do instead?
Instead, just plow through.
Yeah. Plow through or pivot. So when you slow down for that crossover, and this is super common, our natural instinct is always to pull back, right?
Yeah.
And if you're either pulling back or it feels awkward, so for some people the dog will be a little bit up ahead, and you'll see them kind of step out like this, right? Because they're trying to compensate. So they're too committed to the turn. I'm like, but if the dog's up here, if this is the dog's head and the shoulder is here, shoulder should be here. So that makes that turn real smooth. So if we start to feel that or this, or you're trying to compensate, like it'll feel awkward, we should technically turn and tap. Okay, don't try to force through it. So your default, whenever Kilo passes you, is always pivot, turn, tap. Okay, and we wouldn't. Just to clear up, it's the abrupt turn, not the right, left, right turn. Okay, because people get confused with that. Where the dogs be ahead of them and they're doing right, left, right, and I'm like, dog's already gone. Yeah, you just turn, tap, bring them back to your hip. Okay, so and same thing when coming to a stop. Let's say you're coming to a red light and you come to a stop and he starts to go. Most people just pull their dog back, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm just stopping, right? Doesn't matter. But if you're trying to get him to be as good as possible, you have to be super black and white. So if you slow down to a stop and he goes, turn, tap, correct him, slow down, turn again, come back to the stoplight. We should stop together. Okay? So now we're going to do the pivot turns. That's going to be to the immediate left, right, to go back that way. Go for it. Right. Good. That's fine. Good. And you see how he's sitting? It's normal. We don't need to, unless he doesn't move, we don't need to correct that. It'll correct itself over time. Yep. 3 more. Good. Good, and last one. Good, and slow to stop. Excellent. So now, we're gonna do the same stuff, but I'm gonna have you blend these 2 turns, so you'll go between them randomly, okay? As long as he's being mindful, there should be no need for remote unless he's passing you, okay? Good. 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 Just a few more. Good. Tap, pull to right. Tap, tap. Good. Yep, good. One more. And slow to stop. Very good. Okay. Questions on that?
The last one there was the first time I felt him kind of like
Moving back.
move with me a little bit.
So the reason why they get this so quickly is because it's their language. Dogs are masters of reading body language. So once you know how to speak it, it's a very quick process. Okay. If you ever feel awkward, or if you ever feel like it's not going like it's supposed to, you're probably doing something incorrectly. Okay. Almost always, people forget to slow down. That's always the first thing. The next one would be not at the appropriate number. Because if you're not at the appropriate number, he's not listening. He's ahead of you. So then if he's ahead of you and you try these turns, they're not going to go well. Okay. So heel is tells Kilo pay attention. Heel for you means that you make sure he's paying attention, but also that you're communicating clearly. Okay. So when you're in the heel command, all these things go into effect. When you're not in the heel command, it doesn't matter, right? Because he's going to be doing his doggy thing. If you're making a simple right turn without like an actual U, you would just cross with your left and of course keep going that way. And then if you're going to make a left turn, you would slow down and then just lead it with your right leg and cross over this way. So when you work with dogs that we teach on the left, the crossover would be led with the right leg and the pivot would be led with the left leg. Okay, so it's going to just be flipped. But otherwise, everything remains the same. You always lead with the leg closest to the dog, and then you always lead with the leg opposite to the turn. Okay, so as long as you remember that stuff, it's pretty simple. Okay, questions about this so far? So I would recommend in the beginning, as you get this in your muscle memory, is once you start your healing process, you know, he does his business, you do the word heel, and I do 5 heel to stops, 5 heel to crossovers, 5 heel to pivots, and then go on with your walk. You know, so you kind of do like what you did here, and it's just as a warm up. Once you get these movements ingrained in you, then you just apply them. Because the hard part now is going to be when you're walking, oh, I'm going to turn left at this stop sign. So then you got to time it to the end of the building or the fence, whatever. And
Measuring their steps.
so, yeah, you got to just time it. At least 3 steps in terms of the slow. More is always fine. Okay. Questions about that? Pretty simple. All right. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna give you random directions. Okay. Now the rules still apply. If I say crossover and you slow down and he's out of position because he's speeding, you would still pivot. Okay. If I say, you know, pivot and it's really abrupt, you would still slow down to cue, hey, something's changing. Okay. So all those rules are just assume that they're in effect. If I just give you random things, always assume the slow down and always assume the default correction if he's out of line. Okay. Heel. Good. Pivot. Good. Go ahead and pick up pace. Crossover. Good. Crossover. Pivot. Good. Pick up pace. Pivot. Good. Pivot. Pivot.
We're still not really worrying about the distance from me this way.
Right, like this is all good. He's actually in a good little pocket there. Crossover. Good. Crossover. 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 Good. Pivot. Good. Pivot. Good. And crossover. Good. And slow to stop. Excellent. Okay. So right there, like, because he's in a training session and he's more tuned in, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can actually even do it faster. But it just shows you, because within the context, on a regular walk, like you couldn't do these stuff without slowing down because he's going to go to autopilot. But right now, because he's so focused on, oh, we're doing something right now, you can get away with stuff that would be unrealistic. Okay. But all that was just random. Right, and then we did a bunch of in sequence, and then we changed the turn to a different kind of turn, and then he was right there. And I think there was maybe one tap for like a delay.
This last time I didn't.
Oh no? Okay, cool. There was one point where you pivoted, and it looked like he sped up, so I thought maybe there was a tap there. Okay, but otherwise all those turns were correct. Okay, so heel, walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop, pay attention to what I'm doing. Your job, make sure he is paying attention, and of course, make sure you're communicating clearly, okay? You know what you're doing. He does not.
Yeah.
He will never think like, oh, we're walking to PetSmart or we're walking to like Whole Foods. Okay, I know the way, and just naturally turn with you. He needs your direction, okay? Questions on that stuff?
The double turns, I know that's not really applicable anywhere, but like, it turns into walking in a circle. Would he eventually just like sit and let me walk around, or should
I could see that
standing
happening
and, like,
because if you keep crossing into him,
yeah,
it could keep a dog under. Actually, that was happening with Goku during the session. So we were fixing that to teach him, like, you know, stay on the hip. So I could see that happening. If that happens, technically you would just tap and he should stay standing. But yeah, realistically we wouldn't do that. But if you're like, if you're trying to press his obedience or his concept of things, that's where all those things kind of come into play, you know. So when I do this, obviously this is family pet training, but it's like, oh, like my pit does all this stuff in like all of Goku stuff and more, right? But I did a lot. It wasn't just remote for her. It was remote, tug, food. There was a lot more pieces involved. And so when you see her, she wouldn't look like this. If you see me come out here and she knows we're training, she's like, what are we doing, right? Because she's in thinking mode. Here, he's in obedience mode, okay? And then You just want to know the difference. Because for us, we just care about family pet. That's why I'm so simple. But I can certainly train like you saw with Goku, right? Because he wanted it. And so for Goku, we started incorporating food. And I just told him last week, I'm like, he likes Tug, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, let's start incorporating Tug. Because he's training his dog to a higher level than most people would. Okay? Questions on any of that stuff? So what we'll do, because we got some time left here, is we're going to start the stay concept. Okay? So the way we teach stay is different, right? So we don't say sit stay, we don't say down stay, we don't say place stay. The only time we say stay is if the dog is already in position. So currently, what command is Kilo in?
Well, he's not in a command. He's in a heel.
Yes. Okay. But what does that look like?
Sit.
Yeah. So that's the trick question. When I ask people, what command is your dog in? They're like, sit. I'm like, what's the last thing you said? Heel. Like, so your dog's in heel. It's an auto sit. It's built into the command, right? So if you were to move, what's his default going to be?
Heel.
Correct, right? He's going to want to follow you. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach Kilo the concept between moving with you and being stationary. Okay, so what we're going to do is like we did with the pups, except last time you did stay and you crossed out with your right leg like this. For this one, you're going to say stay, and you can use the right hand because I use the hand closest to the dog. So like, let's say Kilo happened to like sit at your left side for something on his own choice, stay, because he's on the left side. Does that make sense? So here, just going to cue that stay, and you want to choke up on your leash here because you want to assume Kilo's going to want to follow you, because that's what we've done for 2 weeks. So you cue the word stay, grab the leash, you're going to choke up, keep it here. You're not putting tension on him. It's just ready. Okay. You're going to pivot out with that left leg like this. If he moves, up, tap, tap, until he puts that butt down, and you want to pull up and away from you, because he might try to swivel to get close to you, because he's thinking tap means come to the hip. So you have to keep him away from you. I don't care where he lands. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just care that he repositions the butt down, but then also doesn't get back next to you. Okay? Hey, Bree, just so you know, the other pump I got for the shampoo. Go for it.
Stay.
Right, so yeah.
Should I reissue a command or?
Nope. Left leg. Yep. Tap. Good, now relax. Good, and then you're gonna swivel back to his side. Good. You're gonna pop him in a heel. You're gonna walk for a little bit, come to a stop, and repeat.
Yep. Stay.
Tap, yep. Good. You thought about it there. Back to the side. Good. 3 more. Right leg.
Stay.
Good. Now up, right, relax. Good. Back to the side. Good. 2 more.
Yep.
Right leg.
Stay.
Right, good move. That was good. Right, yep, good. Good, 1 more.
Yep.
Good.
Stay.
Right, good. Back to the side. Good. You're gonna repeat the same process, but now you're gonna do that half moon circle, right? The half circle in the front. Stop in the middle of him or in front of him, and then pivot back to the side. Okay.
Yep.
Right leg.
Stay.
That's okay for now.
If he,
So go ahead and just pivot so that you're by his side. Yeah. And just pivot out. Yeah. You're good. Perfect. Good. We're gonna do 4 more like that.
yep.
Right leg.
Stay.
Good. 3 more.
Yep.
Good. Tap forward. There you go. Good.
Stay.
Left leg. Up tap, right. You got it, good, then back off. And then what you're gonna do is reset your half circle. Good, 2 more.
Stay.
Good. Good, 1 more.
Yep.
Right leg.
Ah,
I'm gonna have to put an e-collar on you.
I know, that's like harder for me than this one. Stay. He felt the tug of the leash and almost.
1 forward.
Yeah.
Should I be avoiding tugging?
So, good question. Technically, yes. However, you can also teach them to ignore that. So like, what, I had a dog, I've only had to do this once, but I had this dog that was like sitting like that, and then the owner was talking to like the neighbor, and the dog just like randomly jumped up and just bit the neighbor. So they were like super paranoid about that happening again. So we taught the dog like a sit where you could pull as hard as you can, and that dog was just like, fuck no. So the way we do that, or the way we did that, was we cued the sit, and when the dog sat down, we waited a second, and we would pull, and he'd get up, and we'd start remoting and pull up. And we kept repeating that, and eventually he's like, okay, unless I hear break, I don't care what tension I get from anyone, sit means sit no matter what, okay? So here, if you wanted to do that, you could, but technically with training, we just tell people to avoid the tension because since we use it for directional pressure for everything, technically he's gonna wanna give into it, okay? And if you do that, I would do that at the end, once we've taught all the concepts, because we're gonna teach him not to move, but then we're gonna need him to move for like the recall, and he's gonna have to comply to pressure. So it's gonna create confusion. So that's something that we did once the dog was fully trained with everything. We went back and then like tightened up a lot of stuff, okay? So what we're gonna do now, same concept, but now you're gonna do that full circle, right? And did I tell you about the swivel? Like,
Stepping out.
if you start to come around the rear end, that's where dogs have the most problems.
Yeah.
So you might see Kilo, he'll keep the butt down, but he'll swivel like this. If he does that, that's okay. Okay, it's like a little loophole, right? Because he's technically sitting. After a few reps, it tends to go away. Okay, because he's just going, oh, you're walking around me? All right, there's no reason for me to watch you the entire way. Okay?
Yep.
Good?
Stay.
4 more. Good. Tap forward, yep. Good. 3 more. That's okay.
Stay.
Good. 1 more. Yep.
Stay.
Excellent. Now what I have you do here is step back out again. Yep. Hold right there. Good. So when it comes to the stay command, in my opinion, like one of the least useful. Okay? One of the least useful. Unless you happen to find areas where you can apply it, because everything that we do is either default or implied. Right? Sit down, place. It comes with a stay. When we come to a stop in the heel, he automatically sits. When we do recalls, the dog automatically sits, okay? So for the stay, the way that we would apply this is, let's say Kilo happens to be on his dog bed. You didn't send him there, he's on his own, right? So he's not on place. But then you decide, oh, I need you to not move. You could technically remove him and then place him, right? Because he has to do the thing in order for it to kind of process like, oh, I'm in place, right? So here I just go stay. Now it becomes place command. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if like once we teach the down, if you were to be laying down and you decide like I actually need you not to move, stay. Then it becomes a down command. And then you would reinforce it like a down command. Same thing with place. If he was on the bed and you said stay and he got up, you would reinforce it as if you were in place. Okay, same thing for the sit. And when it comes to using this in real life, after he poops, what you can do for now is lightly pull up and tap to put him in a sitting position without saying sit. Cue the word stay, and then pick up the poop or whatever, okay? Because usually that's like the most common thing that I always hear from people is like, yeah, I'm like trying to pick it up and my dog's over here, right? So I'll just tell them, put them in a stay. So that's one way to start that process. Let's say you're in the heel, you're gonna throw away the poop, stay, step out. I'm used to the left side, and throw it out, and come back, right? Keeping them on the leash, of course. You can use it through thresholds, like a Breeze. She's big on using the stay with the thresholds here. So like, if you're going from one place to another, or whatever, you want to take a look out, stay, pivot out, back in, heel, forward. Or pictures, right? Put them in the heel, position them where you want them, stay, step out, nice little picture there, okay? Otherwise, in my opinion, the least useful, but one of the 6 that we teach, okay? Another thing you could do, like here, because I knew I was gonna yap my mouth for a little bit, it's like, put him in a stay, right? Pivot out, and then keeping him there. So if like he tried to lay down, you would correct that. Light pressure up, tap, putting that buck back down. Or if he stood up, tap, put that put that butt back down. It's like one of those tongue twister there. Put that butt back down. And taking opportunities like this, okay? So, questions about this? So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna push this a little more. You're gonna do heel, walk, come to a stop, cue to stay, walk around, come in and give him a stupid amount of praise. Okay. Now, when you're praising, if he starts to get up, tap to reposition him, right? You would stop praising, tap, correct him, and then continue with the praise. He holds the position, then you stop, and you're gonna step out again. Okay, but that command is still in effect. Okay, so we're just putting excitement on the brain to see if he forgets, because a lot of dogs will think, oh, you praised me, I must be done. He'll start to move. So if you step out after praising him, he gets up, of course, correct, but we do not need to repeat the command because you already cued it the first time. Okay, pivot back into position. And heel. Did he break when you came back there? Yeah.
As soon as I pulled back, bro. Stay.
Good. Lots of praise.
Good boy. Good boy.
Good. Other leg. So that one could be handler error because you had stepped out with that right leg.
Yeah.
So we'll never know. So go ahead and come back to the side. Pop him in the heel. We'll try again.
Stay.
Good. Good.
Boy.
Lead with the left. Right. Good. Good. Back to his side. 3 more.
Yep.
Right leg. Who's whining? Izzy or Doc? Oh. Good. Good. Thought about it. Good. One more.
Stay.
Good. Go ahead and step out to the side like this. Yeah. And you can pivot in this way. There you go. So here, pretty simple. So for this, for practicing, another thing you can do is, like, let's say you hit a red light. You know, you can practice wait for the red light, stay. You got distractions, cars, people, and all that stuff. So now that we got the stay, the next thing we would cover is the recall. You'll need a long leash. We have ours, obviously, for when we have the lesson. But a 30-foot leash is what I recommend. Okay, if you go on Amazon, $8 to $12, nothing fancy. And then once we start to recall, we start to build already towards off-leash obedience. Okay, because this tool gives you off-leash control, the methods that we're using are off-leash methods. It's just a matter of, do you put in the time and go through the stages to get them there, okay? So once we put them on the 30-foot, then you can get even further on the stays, okay? But we always start with that short leash, get that down packed for a week, cover the recall, and then I like to blend the recall with the stay and the heel. And we do that all in a long 30-foot leash, okay? You can incorporate food here as well. If you put in food, where would you feed him?
Right before I reissue. After he's
You're close. You're yeah. After he stays, right? So once
that's not cute. I said it in a weird way.
yeah, once you complete the stay, right? So when you pivot right into a space, good, is when you would feed. Or you could even come in and feed here and then step out again. You know, that might make things a little bit more complicated because he's going to want to move forward to it. But that's good because that gives you something to counter, right? Because like, I forget who we were working with. We were doing the down, and when we come in with the food for the down, the dog would pop up. So then we would remove the food, and the dog would go back in the down, and then we would feed. So then the dog learned, oh, I have to stay or maintain this position in order to get the reward that I'm wanting. So here for Kilo, if I'm using food and I feed him, and he's expecting it, and you start to see him do this, right? I can counter him. Nope. You'll get it, but you have to hold still. No inching, right? Then you come in and feed him. Walk around. You do a walk around, good, feed him. So anytime he's like completed the task or intermittently, more so to cause him to make mistakes so that you can correct them. Because he's learning more from the mistake than he is actually from the reward, okay? Because if reward base was as good as people think it is, there'd be a lot more well-trained dogs, right? Because everybody does food. But with this, for 10 years, 98% of my dogs are trained on only that. Every now and then I get a dog that needs food, right? And I get off-leash obedience because we let the dog make mistakes. And we correct them and we go, nope, we don't want that. And the dog goes, okay, well, getting up from a stay sucked, so I'll just keep my butt down. Nothing happens, cool, I'm good with that. Okay? So now you have the place, you have the heel, you have the stay. Anything else? Trying to think if there's anything to come across. He did good. Does he have any toy drive, ball drive?
Tennis ball is just like
Okay, does he play or does he play?
he'll like play by himself, like toss it against the wall and jump after it.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay. So what you could do, if all this is going easy for him, put him in a stay, get a ball. Start bouncing the ball, right? Now we have a distraction and a reward. So what we're going to get in the beginning is if you incorporate that is a dip and play drive. It's normal, okay? So if I start to bounce the ball, Kilo gets up tap, right? So you have him on that short leash. You do that, he gets up tap, bounce, bounce, bounce. He gets up tap, right? Bounce, bounce, bounce. He doesn't move, break, throw, okay? So now he has to learn, like, okay, if I'm under a command, I have to hold that command, but when I'm released, I may just get that reward, okay? So I would do this for a couple of days first, make sure it's pretty solid, and then once you feel like he's kind of hit the plateau of what you can do with just this, then we bring in the distraction, okay? Anything else?
Good.
It was good. I like him.
I like it too.